Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order this meeting. This meeting of the Salem City Council for January 13th, 2025. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we will be conducting the swearing-in ceremony for Ward 1 City Councilor Paul Tigan, Ward 3 City Councilor Shane Matthews, Ward 5 City Councilor Dr. Irvin M. Brown, Ward 7 City Councilor Vanessa Nordyke, and myself, Mayor Julie Hoy. Is anybody else having a good time yet? Okay. As we begin the swearing in the 2025 Salem City Council, and each of us, in turn, taking our formal oaths of office, I'd like to acknowledge the dignitaries who have joined us this evening, including former Mayor, Salem Mayor Anna Peterson, Marion County Commissioner Danielle Bethel, retired Oregon Supreme Court Chief Justice DeMunez, he will be administering my oath of office, and U.S. District Judge Adrian Nelson of the United States District Court for the District of Oregon, who will be administering Dr. Irvin M. Brown's swearing in. A very, very important side note. The Councilor-elect Brown will be joining the 2025 Salem City Council as the first African-American male to serve our community in this role. As we reflect on the significance of this moment, I have faith and a great sense of hope that together we can tackle the challenges facing Salem. The group assembled and elevated to this office by our community has exactly what it takes to lead through a time such as this. I'm committed to making sure all voices are heard so that we can make Salem a livable community for all who seek to call Salem home. When all the oaths of office have been administered, we will recess for refreshments and photographs. When we reassemble as the 2025 Salem City Council, following the recess, we will return to the agenda for the evening, which is bound to be exciting. It invites each member of City Council to comment in their 2-minute comment period, okay? With that, our City Attorney Dan Atchison will begin with the oath of office for Councilor from Ward 1, Paul Tigan.
If you'd please repeat after me. I, Paul Tigan.
I, Paul Tigan.
Do solemnly swear or affirm.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
That I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America.
And of the State of Oregon, and the City Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem.
And of the State of Oregon, and of the City Charter and the ordinances of the City of Salem.
And that I will.
And that I will.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
Faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of City Councilor for Salem.
Faithfully and lawfully execute the duties of the role as City Councilor for Salem.
During my continuance therein.
During my continuance therein.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ward 3 City Councilor Shane Matthews.
Please repeat after me. I, Shane Matthews,
I, Shane Matthews,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
and of the State of Oregon and the City Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem,
and the State of Oregon and the City Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of City Councilor for Salem
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of the City Councilor of Salem
during my continuance therein.
during my continuance therein.
Congratulations.
We'll sign this later.
We'll sign it later.
Ward 5, City Councilor, Dr. Irvin. We're switching it up?
Vanessa.
We're switching it up, okay. Ward 7, City Councilor, Vanessa Nordyke.
I, Vanessa Nordyke,
I, Vanessa Nordyke,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
that I will support the laws and Constitution of the United States of America
and of the State of Oregon
and of the State of Oregon
and the City Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem,
and City Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of City Councilor for Salem
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of City Councilor for Salem
during my continuance therein.
during my continuance therein.
Ward 5, City Councilor, Dr. Irvin M. Brown.
Please repeat after me. I, Irvin M. Brown,
I, Irvin M. Brown,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States of America
and laws of the United States of America
and of the State of Oregon
and of the State of Oregon
and the City Charter
and the City Charter
and ordinance of the City of Salem,
and the ordinance of the City of Salem,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and I will, to the best of my ability,
faithfully and lawfully perform
faithfully and lawfully perform
the duties of City Councilor for Salem
the duties of City Council for Salem
during my continuance therein.
during my continuance therein.
Congratulations.
And now, Mayor Julie Hoy.
He was my mentor. I love that.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Julie Hoy, do solemnly swear and affirm
I, Julie Hoy, do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States of America
and the State of Oregon
and the State of Oregon
and the City Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem,
and the City Charter and ordinances of the City of Salem,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of Mayor of Salem
faithfully and lawfully perform the duties of Mayor of Salem
during my continuance therein.
during my continuance therein.
Congratulations, Mayor.
Oh, man. Paul tried to talk me out of being a city councilor, so this is a big deal. Thank you, everyone. At this time, we'll take a brief recess for some cupcakes are hidden behind some people somewhere here. And, all right, then we'll be back. Okay. It's too bad this is such a tough room, right? Thank you, everyone, for being here. Madam Recorder, would you please call the roll?
Councilor Tigan.
Here.
Councilor Nishioka.
Here.
Councilor Matthews.
Here.
Councilor Gwynn. Here. Councilor Brown.
Present.
Councilor Nordyke. Here. Councilor Varney.
Here.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Here. Okay, now we'll have the election of council president. I'd like to nominate Linda Nishioka for this position.
I'll second.
Oh, the choir. I love it. That's great. Okay. We have a motion from the floor for Councilor Nishioka to serve as council president. All those in favor?
Aye.
Or do you
Aye.
want discussion?
You can do discussion if you'd like.
Okay. Do y'all want to talk about it? How about discussion on that topic before we vote? Yes, Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you all for what sounds like your support, and I look forward to continuing to serve in this position if that is how the roll gets called.
Okay. Let's make it a official in the long version. If you don't mind, Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councilor Varney.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Council President Nishioka, are there any additions to the agenda?
There is. I move for a revision and a deletion to the agenda.
Second.
And to my motion, on the item 3.3D, claim settlement authorization was revised to correct the identity of the parties and the date of the incident. And item 7.1, first reading of Ordinance Bill 1-25 to amend Salem, or SRC Chapter 9, to modify the collection of aircraft landing fees and overnight parking fees was removed from the agenda by the city manager and will return to the council on January 27th.
Thank you. Okay.
So just ask the recorder to call the roll.
Okay.
and you could just-
Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Councilor Nordyke. Councilor Varney. Aye. Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Now we're on to council and manager comments. Does anyone have anything to share this evening? Councilor Varney?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, coming from and representing West Salem, how much I really, really appreciate Public Works and all the hard work that they did getting our sewer lines back together so quickly. Wow. I went out there Saturday morning at about 8 o'clock and there was a shift ending, and I was talking to one of the employees who had been on for 24 hours. And think about the rain we had on the 2nd, the 3rd. Anyway, I just wanted to say how impressed I was at how fast that was. A holiday week, trying to get supplies. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd first like to give a shout out to our Salem firefighters who are heading down to Los Angeles. Many of them are already there to help with the most devastating wildfire in Los Angeles' history. So please extend your thoughts and words of support and thoughts of support to our firefighters who are joining the proverbial fray. Next, I want to talk about something that's been eating at me over the holiday break. And it's that this city of mine that I grew up in and have called home for most of my adult life is becoming more and more a city of the haves and the have-nots. There were 5 homes that sold but for $1.5 million to $2 million this past year in the city of Salem. Meanwhile, there is a mile-long wait list for affordable housing through the Salem Housing Authority. We have 3 private golf clubs and 3 city-run shelters. Renters' income has gone up 19%, but rent has gone up 29%. This is a city where, like many cities, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And so we, as elected officials, have a lot of choices to make this year. And the decisions that we make in this room will impact everyone, but they always, always tend to impact our most vulnerable the most. So I want to congratulate my new peers on council tonight, my new mayor, because this is a year where the decisions we make will help determine the trajectory of this city. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I would like to report that several of my fellow councilors and when we met where Councilor-elect attended the groundbreaking for Gussie Bell, which is a great housing project over off of Medical Drive. And our city attorney worked very hard to help facilitate that property sell, and I just want to again congratulate him on the hard work, the city did, and looking forward to seeing that project come forward. And then I also want to say that a couple weeks ago, a few of us attended a swearing in of a single police officer, a nice moving ceremony. He was someone that was a teacher and had decided that he wanted to become a police officer, and he was recently sworn in. And so I appreciate all the work that Chief Womack is doing, getting our police department all full and ready to serve. And then I want to congratulate all my fellow new counselors and look forward to working with those that I've been working with. I feel very confident that we're going to have a very good year moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Tigan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With no specific remarks prepared, I just want to take a moment to express my gratitude. I'll start with my family in the audience tonight for all their support in this endeavor, running for office and seeking to serve our community in a new way. And also my family outside of the state of Oregon, including my mom, who lives in Minnesota, and my 4 sisters and brother and their families. And really close to home, want to thank everyone in Ward 1 who supported me and those who will come along for the journey. I think that there's so much to do on behalf of the city in the next 4 years, and I'm really excited to dive in and work with this group of fine group of people to do the best we can for this city. And I, to that end, really want to thank the city staff. Over the last 6 months have done a tremendous job getting Dr. Brown, Shane, and myself ready for these positions. We've gone through a very rigorous orientation session to be ready for this day, and it's worth commending the city for their work to get us ready. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Matthews.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what Councilor Tigan said, obviously being new to this role, the last few months have been it's like I've heard multiple other councilors say it's like drinking from a fire hose to get prepared. And the city and the other councilors have done an incredible job, I think, of preparing myself, Dr. Brown, and Councilor Tigan for this role and being able to just jump right in right now. Big decisions are coming, and I don't feel like we're lagging way behind. On top of that, I just want to thank the Salem citizens that put me here, the citizens that voted me in, the citizens that have trusted me to be able to do this job, as well as obviously my family. They've signed on to this for the next 4 years. Who knows what we got into, right? And last, I grew up in this community, and I grew up in Salem, and this is an incredible honor, and I'm truly proud to be able to serve the community that I grew up in and be able to make change in a place that I love. So, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Brown.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I too want to follow my colleagues in that same sentiment. One of the things that I think about is that it took a lot for us to get here, and so to my fellow councilors on that campaign trail, I want to say congratulations, because we are here in this seat. And as my fellow councilor mentioned, that there's a lot of good work ahead that we do have to do, especially when we think about affordable housing. And many of us were there last week to watch that groundbreaking ceremony, and Pastor Wade and his wife, Pastor Evelyn, they were here tonight. And so there are a lot of people that are still sleeping on the street. I know, Madam Mayor, you've talked about this on multiple occasions, where people are sleeping in front of your restaurant. And so we know that there's a lot of good work that we have to do. And so when we think about the vision that you have shared with us individually and collectively, collaboration is key. Collaboration is key in making sure that we can find some ways to compromise and find some middle ground. And it would be wrong of me to not acknowledge one individual that was in the seat 50 years ago, and I've said it once and I'll say it again, Senator Peter Courtney. He was a statesman that knew exactly how to reach people from the left and to the right, and knew how to bring them to the middle to find a way to compromise. And so I find that an honor to follow someone so long ago, and now we're here. And having said that, I do want to acknowledge many of my family members that are here. You met my aunt. Two of my aunts are all the way from Sacramento and also from North Carolina. So I do want to honor them to being here tonight, folks who flew in all the way from Louisiana, D.C., obviously Washington State. And so thank you for being here. It definitely means a lot. And the last thing I'll say is that when we think about some of the work that we have to do, we got some big decisions to make ahead of us. It doesn't fall light on any of the citizens here that we still have a $17.7 billion deficit. And so in the midst of the celebration here tonight, from the picture taking and to the flowers, all that's great. But we know we got some major decisions to make. And that's not going to feel easy or good. And you're probably thinking like, Dr. Brown, why are you being the Debbie Downer? Whoever Debbie is, the reality says is we do have some work to do. And I am really excited and anticipating the great work that this team is going to do. And I believe we're going to do good work, right? And we're going to make some changes, and it will take all of us. It's not just one or two, and I'm a firm believer that it's not a me thing, it's a we thing, and that is the essence of having a spirit of collaboration. And when you have that spirit of collaboration, you also have a spirit of empathy, because that allows us to understand what so many of our citizens are going through and facing in the city, whether they're sleeping on the street or whether they have some type of substance use disorder. It is going to take a lot of us to understand what it feels like to be in those spaces. And Madam Mayor, you said it earlier, we are those individuals got to make sure that every voice is going to be heard and every face is going to be represented, because that's why we're here. We're here for them. So it's a good time to be here. Thank you for those who did travel, and I'm looking forward to getting to work.
Yes, Councilor Gwynn.
Well, I don't want to miss this opportunity to welcome our new counselors, and I just want all of you to know that I'm sincerely looking forward to this year with a great deal of hope, and I believe that we will accomplish great things. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. City Manager, did you have something?
I did. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just real quick, I gave each one of you a white rose this evening, and white roses are symbols of hope, unity, and new beginnings. And I think we're off to a very good start in that regard. So thank you and congratulations to each of you. I'm looking forward to the year ahead.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I would just like to say that this is an incredible honor that I do not take lightly whatsoever. I've been amazed by the combination of folks that have been voted in to be here at this particular time, and I think it's just right. I'm really excited to come together, as everybody's already said so well. One personal side note, my mother passed away just before Christmas, and she really wanted to be here. She can't, but she is. And about a week before she died, I was passing through her living room, and she was sitting in her chair, and she said, "I'm really proud of you." And I stopped and I looked at her and I said, "Wow, thanks." And I went about my business, and then I sat down next to her and I said, "Mom, I know it's weird, but can I ask you why?" And she said, "Because so much goodness and kindness comes from you, and people are blessed by it." And I was like, I'm so glad I asked. I had no idea what she would say. And then I got about my business in her place, and she said, "One more thing. You've always been really good at fixing things. Like, when people can't fix something, you can fix it." So I feel inspired by my mom, Judy, and maybe in goodness and in kindness, we can work together and fix some things. So I'm really glad we're all here together. Thank you. We are on to, we covered everybody, right? We're on to proclamations, and I am so excited about this. Jayne Downing, would you please come forward? Jayne is the Executive Director of Center for Hope and Safety, and she will receive this evening's proclamation, which is here somewhere. Jayne, thank you for being here. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Whereas, Jayne Downing, after serving as Executive Director of Salem's Center for Hope and Safety since July 14, 1997, is retiring after more than 27 years. And whereas, Jayne is leaving behind a legacy of service to those in our community needing protection and support. And whereas, in addition to her work with Center for Hope and Safety, Jayne has been an incredible partner and volunteer with the City of Salem for 25 years, beginning with Social Services Advisory Committee in the late 1990s, and whereas serving for more than 20 years on the committee with the goal of bringing community partners together for training, identifying and filling gaps, and eliminating duplication of services, and whereas new and stronger resources have been developed locally, most notably at the Center for Hope and Safety, which has grown under Jayne's visionary leadership from 3 employees to 35, as well as expanded and improved emergency shelter space for survivors of domestic abuse, human trafficking, and stalking. And now, therefore, I, Julie Hoy, Mayor of the City of Salem, do hereby proclaim January 13th, 2025 as a day of recognition for Jayne Downing. I ask Salem residents to pay special tribute to Jayne and her unrivaled dedication to people in need throughout our community. Dated this 13th day of January, 2025.
Oh, that's going to make me cry. Oh, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I feel kind of honored. I'm your first proclamation. I feel very honored. I feel very humbled and honored. I'm the luckiest of people because I got to do what I love for 27 years. So, and I would be remiss if I didn't introduce you all to our new executive director, Ashley Carson, who is going to carry on the great work at Center for Health and Safety. We have some advocates in the room who do the work every single day. Please recognize them and appreciate all the work that they do every day. And I just want to say, I actually want to be able to say thank you to the city of Salem. You all do have a big job in front of you, but I want you to know about some city councilors that even before I came on, they caught the vision of helping victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and human trafficking. And City Council in 1981 said, we're going to buy a house, and you all can put individuals in it who need help. And that house served for almost 40 years and had 15,887 people who lived there and received safety. Yeah. And that's just one example of how the city of Salem has helped us. And you helped us open new permanent housing for survivors. And you've helped us help put kitchens into our new shelter. And you've done so much. And so when you're sitting there and thinking about, do we help a nonprofit help more people? Please remember how important that is and all the lives that you will affect by the decisions that you make. And thank you for helping me be able to, and our program helps so many people. So thank you all very much, and thank you, Mayor.
One additional note about Jayne's work. She's led in such a way that all of their buildings are paid for. There's no debt. That's the way to do it, Jayne. Thank you so much. You're greatly loved and appreciated. All right, we have no presentations this evening. We're moving on to public comment. Is anyone signed up?
No one signed up under item 2.
Mm-hmm.
We do have 4 people signed up under 8, as we
Should we do it
discussed. I may as well bring them up. If you like.
Okay. We're going to go ahead. We have no one signed up for the public comment on the agenda items only, but we do have 4 persons signed up under item 8. So let's go ahead and let those folks go first, if that's okay, and then they can head home for the night. Okay, if they want. I see Karen Bolliger. Could you please come forward? Either side of the microphone will work. Please just announce your name and which ward you live in or your address, and you'll have 3 minutes. I think you know the drill.
I do.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Karen Bolliger, and I'm here representing Center 50 Plus, which is in Ward 5. And I just wanted to say on behalf of Center 50 Plus, welcome to the new commissioners and welcome to Mayor Hoy. You have volunteered for this position, and we at Center 50 Plus feel like volunteerism is very, very important. We could not run the hundreds of programs that we have without volunteerism. And it's rewarding to the individual and also important and rewarding to the organization. We have hundreds of volunteers, and they make Center 50 Plus important and vital to our patrons. Couldn't happen without it. So you, City Council, in whatever you choose to do in this new year, make the city of Salem a better place to live. So I'd like to read this letter to you, council members, that I wrote earlier today as a president of Friends of Center 50 Plus, one of the boards at Center 50 Plus. Dear Mayor Hoy, council members, and city manager, we, members of the Friends of Center 50 Plus, are writing to express our deep concern regarding the recent shortfall of funding from the City of Salem for the center. As a vital community resource, Center 50 Plus offers over 200 classes and activities, serving close to 800 patrons daily. This level of engagement not only enriches the lives of older students, but also strengthens the entire Salem community. The Friends of Center 50 Plus board works tirelessly to support the center, raising $250,000 annually for the city and an additional $150,000 for other necessary expenses. These funds represent our commitment to ensuring the success of the center and its programs. However, continued success depends on adequate city funding to sustain operations and meet the growing needs of our patrons. Center 50 Plus is an investment in Salem's future. With adequate funding, we will continue to contribute to the city's budget and enhance the quality of life for thousands of residents. We urge you to restore and prioritize funding for this essential community asset. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have B. Lee Coyne. Again, you'll have 3 minutes. When 1 minute's left, the light on the podium will flash yellow. Then it'll turn red when your time's expired.
Mayor Hoy. Okay, I want to bring to the attention the rollout after these LA firefighters, the fire that inflicts upon all of us. It's not just far away in California. Number one, we can expect that some of, I guess you call them fire refugees, will decide to come to Oregon, perhaps some in Salem. So we have to have our budget flexible enough to deal with the balance between the old homeless and the new homeless. That's something I don't think that we have observed and taken into our heart and soul. Number two, I speak as a retired medical social worker, 50 years this year actually, and a lot of people of all age brackets, even children, will be needing trauma counseling. Now, right now, state laws prohibit people from out of California to participate unless they get a California license. I would urge both our Oregon Clinical Social Work Board and the counterpart board over in California to make a temporary provisional 6-month license available so that the teletherapy, which operated during the COVID, can operate in these kind of crises. And lastly, I want to mention that we too have fires here in Oregon, and we too have floods, and we too may have an earthquake before we know it. So preparing now for the future is what we need to do immediately. Thank you for your time and your future efforts. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. We have Matt Hale.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, councilors. I'm Matt Hale from Ward Number 4. I'd like to congratulate our new mayor and all our new councilors on their new positions, and I want to thank you personally for stepping up and serving our community. So thank you very much. I'll make it brief tonight. I'm proposing that our city address the fact that our state has dragged their feet and is not committed to a payment in lieu of taxes like so many organizations and committees have advocated for in the past. Just recently, the Revenue Task Force, and now more recently, the Forecast Review Team, have recommended that our state make an annual payment to compensate Salem for public safety costs associated with being the state capital. I also understand from local news organizations that they are reporting that Governor Tina Kotek also supports this idea. It seems like our city and our council can adjust the operations fee for everyone, whether it be residential, commercial, multifamily, institutional, or public. So why not just adjust that operations fee for all those state buildings that are not paying property tax within the city of Salem right now? We could charge all those state public buildings a revised, much larger monthly fee rather than the current $76.56 a month. And then when added that up over the course of a year, that would equal a large amount of money that would compensate our general fund for property taxes not collected and go a long ways towards solving our city budget deficit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We have Nancy, I believe it's Layton. Did I get that right, Nancy? Okay, thank you.
I would have come sooner to the podium. Congratulations all. You do realize, of course, that at this moment in time, you now have a brand-new target painted on your backs, right? Yes, that's what happens when you become publicly elected servants of the public. I am here representing Friends of the Salem Public Library. I hold the position, I am honored to hold the position of secretary and membership chair, and I love the work that I do as a volunteer with the library. Every other Saturday, I work the bookstore, and oh my, what a joy it is to see the families coming into the library, but even more joyous is to see them leaving with their arms full of books that they have checked out, or in some cases, they've bought at our little bookstore that helps support the library. It is not unusual to see those children loaded down with books, some of them reading as they're walking through the front door, heading for their cars. To know that books are still important to the reading public, that it isn't all electronic, digital media that is attractive to people, is a joy to my heart particularly, because I've written a couple, I've written a few, as a matter of fact, and published a couple, and I understand what it takes to bring a book to market. It's not easy. The thing I want to stress tonight is that I am proud to be part of a coalition committee that is addressing the issue of the proposed levy. We know that this is what we call a midterm funding measure. It's not a long-term fix for a problem, but it buys some time, ladies and gentlemen of the public. It buys some time for the library, Center 50, and Parks and Rec to figure out other ways and other sources of funding for their activities going forward into the future. I highly urge you, ladies and gentlemen of the council, on the 21st, when you consider the question, consider it in the positive. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now on to the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam Hoy. So, Dan, do I need to make a motion, or do I just read the consent calendar?
Please start with the motion, then after
Thank
it's
you.
seconded, you can speak to your motion.
It's been so long since I've done it. I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Second by Matthews. Got that? Okay, thank you, Amy. Is there any discussion?
I will go ahead and read the consent thing.
Thank you.
Thank you. The consent calendar consists of minutes, 3.1A draft minutes from December 9th, 2024. Item number 3.3A, appointments to the Community Police Review Board and Salem Planning Commission. 3.3B, appointments to the Salem Public Arts Commission. 3.3C, real property lease for temporary location of City Hall services, Salem City Hall services. And 3.3D, which is the claims settlement authorization. 3.3E, a designation of May 20th, 2025 as the date for the special election to fill the vacant council position for Ward 6. 3.3F, request to create a mid-year project for the Phase 3 West Forest Restoration Project within Minto Island Conservation Area. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Is there any discussion? No? Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councilor Varney. Aye. Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. All right, we are on to public hearings, which we have none. And then to special orders of business. Councilor Varney, do you have a motion?
I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. First motion of the year here,
Yay.
right? Okay. I move that the City of Salem form a City Budget Efficiencies Committee with a membership structure as requested by the Salem Chamber of Commerce in their December 11th letter to Council, and that the Salem Chamber of Commerce be invoiced for all costs associated with maintaining and supporting this committee.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
To my motion.
Councilor, to your motion?
Thank you very much. Yes, back in mid-December, the councilors received a letter from, it was actually both from the Chamber and from the Home Builders Association of Marion and Polk Counties, and in the letter is a request to convene a blue ribbon committee tasked with evaluating city expenditures and efficiencies. And I felt it was appropriate to bring this up at this meeting so that our new councilors had a chance to discuss it, and we all have a chance to decide whether or not to move forward with the formation of this committee. So I felt that was really important. Forming this committee, it's going to require a redirection of staff and resources, and I feel it's really important that we talk about that a little bit. Also, at the end of my motion, I mentioned invoicing, and that was, I was thinking, okay, if we're supposed to be operating efficiently and operating as a business, I was thinking that the business model would say that we needed to charge billable hours for a service that we were providing to a private entity or entities. So that was the reasoning behind that. I'm very appreciative that the Chamber and Home Builders Association are committed to working with the City of Salem to maintain, to ensure funding for our essential services. I think it's absolutely wonderful. We need their support. We need everyone's support and guidance and as we move through this. So that's the reason for my motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? Councilor Matthews?
Yeah, kind of in line with this, I wanted to propose a substitute motion. That'd be okay? I need a second.
I think you have to say your motion.
Oh, I said the motion first. Okay, great. That makes sense. So I move a substitute motion that the City Council form a Budget Efficiencies Task Force, proposed membership to be drafted by the City Manager, but Finance Committee to approve the final members, city staff time to be limited to no more than 60 hours in direct support of the task force without additional City Council approval. Staff time counting toward the 60-hour limit shall only be time that would not have been expended but for the task force.
I'll second that.
And so, kind of in line with Councilor Varney, I think it is important that we look at these efficiencies and that we start looking at this opportunity of being able to form a committee and our task force that would be able to look at this type of thing in our city. I think it's what a lot of the citizens have been calling for. It's just a lot of what will kind of go move forward in building that trust back. And I think it is an opportunity that we have, that the Chamber and the home builders have come forward and offered up assistance with that. I have some concern with doing the funding aspect on the backside where the Chamber or the home builders have to pay for that, partially because I'm concerned that it creates a divisiveness within if you can pay for it, then the city will do it. And that's not necessarily where we want to be. We don't want to be in a situation where if an organization or an individual can pay for us to look into something, we'll look into it. We just want to look into it because it's the right thing to look into. And so, I tend to think that I completely agree that I think that we should have this efficiencies task force, but it should be drafted by the city. It should be through the city. It's fully in control by the city and with the finance committee. And that there should be some accountability, and that's why the 60-hour limit is in there. So that, because I will tell you from a new counselor perspective, it is very easy for me even to, with the flick of a tongue, to say, can you give me a report on this? And I don't really know exactly what that means on the backside, but it can be serious city staff time. And so it is good to have these committees be cognizant of how much time anything could happen and how much time it could use. So that's my motion.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So in regards to the motion, so we're looking at 60 hours, stop right there, correct? And I guess my question would be, when we think back about the Revenue Task Force, and we know that they, I'm going to say, did similar work, my question would be, how many hours did they spend, taking the time to go through the budget? Like, how many hours was that? Do we have a number? That's how many? I'm just curious.
That was a very different proposition than what we're talking about here with the budget review team. The Revenue Task Force stretched out over 6 months. This would likely stretch out over 6 weeks and would be quicker and smaller in its scope and its responsibilities. The Revenue Task Force was hundreds of hours of staff time, and as Councilor Matthews has indicated, Josh and I have had an opportunity to talk about this, and we think that in the realm of 60 hours is a reasonable cap for what we're talking about and the way that we're thinking about scoping this work.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank Councilor Varney for bringing this forward. I know that when I first read the letter from Chamber, and I was a little frustrated in the sense that it feels like we've done so much. When I say we, not necessarily me, but our Finance Committee and the Budget Committee have done so much, and it becomes frustrating when there still seems to be some lack of trust or some questions on whether or not we are managing correctly. But at the same time, it is important to build that trust. And this, I'm hoping, will do that. And I know that our city manager worked with the forecast review team. That seemed to bring a lot of trust and opportunities for us to find some adjustments that could be done. And I'm hoping that this might be effective in that way as well. But I also struggled a bit with the idea of billing. At the same time, as Councilor Matthews has pointed out, we don't want now other people saying, okay, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. I think we need to be very aware of requests coming in and the information or the committees that would be created. And so I think this is a way for us to balance that. So thank you, Councilor Varney, for bringing this forward, and thank you, Councilor Matthews, for making the substitute motion.
Councilor Gwynn.
I guess when I saw the letter on December 11th, I was excited to see that the Chamber and home builders wanted to partner with the city to find a resolution. And so I didn't see it as being anything other than a partnership with the Chamber. So, yeah, I guess we all have different perspectives, right?
Thank you. Anybody else? Dr. Brown?
So Madam Mayor, Madam President, you mentioned that this could be seen like a form of trust, right? And so I guess my question would be, are we thinking that this particular committee, this group, they're going to help us win back the trust of our voters? Like, is that going to be a part of the tool? Is this one of the tools that we're going to use? And the reason I'm asking is because if this is a tool that we're going to use, I think we need to be prepared that at the end of the 60 hours, if they come back and say, hey, this is what we need to do, or this is what we need to do, is that going to change the voter's perspective?
That I can't say, but I do feel that if the chamber feels that the committee worked well, that it would then have them recognize the deficit and our movement forward to a potential proposal for a levy.
Councilor Matthews?
I also can't say exactly what would, impact the voters, but I can tell you from my perspective as a counselor and my conversations with different constituents that I feel like it is something that the city, from the polling we've done, the citizens from everything we've seen, they want us to do everything we can to look within before we start asking out again. And so because of that, I think that for me personally, I see this as a tool, yes, going forward. No matter what comes out of it, I think it's a good opportunity for us to be able to say, we have looked, we have asked for citizen input, we have a third parties that are looking at this to be sure that we are running at our top efficiency before we come and ask you for more revenue.
And Councilor Matthews, you had mentioned earlier that this could potentially set the precedence for other entities to come behind. Are we concerned about that, or we're not concerned about that?
Go ahead.
I think part of it is, you'll notice in my motion, I don't speak back to any entity in this. So ultimately, this is a city committee, and this is a task force of the city, and we are putting forward. And ultimately, I think it's great that the chamber and the home builders and everything else brought this to the surface and brought it as an option for us. But ultimately, we as the city are the ones that are making this decision. And so it'll be that way in the future. If there's another organization that brings something, it'll be up to this body and other bodies to make that decision on whether that's something we're moving forward with. But this motion speaks to the idea that the city is going to create an efficiency task force. And as far as everything else beyond that with membership and everything, that's up to the finance committee and everything else.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilor Varney.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. I really, really appreciate that. I mean, I agree with the funding source or whatever, or not billing for it. And the reason is we're a public service agency. We serve the public. And if we were going to invoice people, an agency, whatever you want to call it, we'd be acting like a business instead of a public entity serving the public. And so I appreciate that clarification very much. The only concern I really have about the formation of this committee is similar to what Councilor Nishioka brought up about our existing committees. I mean, we have a resident-led budget committee. I've been on the budget committee for 3 years personally, and we do examine expenses and revenue. I mean, that's what we do, and it's fantastic that we have representatives from all of our wards on that committee. And then we have the City Finance Committee, and that's another one that looks at expenditures, it looks at the budget, and it was also behind getting or requesting to council that we have Moss Adams do the efficiency study or whatever it was on the city manager's office that they did. And so we have that group that does that. And then, what was I going to say? I mean, we have audits from the outside. So we have lots of information out there to look at efficiencies and spending. And so I'm just not sure, what will this efficiency committee be providing that is not already being provided? Do you have any ideas? I mean, are there deliverables or something? I was just curious.
I have an idea.
Okay.
And this came out of the Forecast Review Committee, or what did we call it? Forecast Review Team? Because that gave an opportunity to gather with outside voices who had questions or ways of seeing things that the Finance Committee maybe did not, and we were able to talk that through. or they did see it, and we found compromise and ways to make the forecast a little bit different and a little bit brighter. I see this opportunity and I really feel it's a very generous offer for the chamber and those enlisted to come in to this space, the city space, and offer knowledge and expertise and a willingness to go through the numbers and see how things fall. I don't know what we'll find or what they will find, but I know that the forecast review team did a good thing, and we didn't charge those who came to the forecast review team meetings for that service. It was genuinely a service. And an offering. So I feel like that's what's happening. And to Councilor Matthews' point, we unfortunately are in a position where we have to build trust, and that's what this is doing. That's what all of these efforts are doing. So that when it comes time to make an ask for something, because some form of a deficit is real, we need to know what we're asking for and have the people beside us, the community beside us, understanding that we've done our due diligence. So that's the benefit that I see to that group. Any other comments about that? Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So in terms of building trust, I'm thinking building public trust. It's my understanding that there wasn't any public purview of the forecast committee. Will there, if we form this committee moving forward, will it be, I guess, publicly transparent if people want to go to the committee meetings or something? I'm just thinking of ways to build that trust rather than having something going on kind of behind the scenes.
Thank you. Dan Atchison?
Thank you, Dan Atchison, City Attorney. Yes, it would be a public body of the city, so the meetings would be open to the public.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Councilor Nordyke. Councilor Gwynn, go right ahead.
Well, and I actually kind of had a question. So, Madam Mayor, the letter that came from the chamber and home builders was addressed to the city manager and the city and council, and the city manager elected to move forward and cooperate. Cooperate's not the right word, but partner with those folks. And so I guess I'm just trying to figure out, if we don't want to do any of these things, we just want to move forward with what the city manager had already set up, is that a possibility? Or, you know what I'm saying? I'm just kind of confused where we're at.
Dan Atchison, City Attorney. So there's two ways of doing it. One, the city manager can form a committee that reports directly to the city manager or to staff. That type of committee doesn't have to be a public body, doesn't have to have public meetings, but could. We have a similar group called the Water Wastewater Task Force that reports to the Public Works Director. That doesn't have to be open to the public, but it is. So we could proceed at that way, or with the motion, because it's being formed by City Council, it would be an open body subject to public meetings law.
That's really helpful, Dan. Thank you. Yes, Councilor Tigan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm sort of of two minds about this. I didn't mind the proposal by the Chamber of Commerce, and when I think about the process, we have a lot of former Budget Committee members on the council now. And as part of the process, we know that the city manager and his staff does a lot of work to put together an annual budget and present that to the Budget Committee in April. There's a lot of meetings we're not invited to. There's a lot of things that go on, I'm sure, horse trading among the staff, things like that, to put together the one team proposal. As I saw it, we know it's a big year for the budget, and for the city manager and his staff to meet with the folks from the chamber, or if there's other people within the city who have an idea about big budgets, then that'd be part of the, kind of like Dan was saying, that's part of the city manager's process. Mm-hmm. What I have a hard time about creating another committee is we already have the committee. It's the Budget Committee. And so if we have a committee before it goes to the budget committee, we're sort of taking some of the legislative prerogative of the budget committee away, because you're saying, oh, we've already met with an even better committee or a committee before the committee. So I was, and I talked to the city manager about this when the proposal was made, happy to see that just enacted as at his prerogative. So to create another committee before the budget committee, I think is have a harder time with. Thank you.
Did you want to say something? Where are we at?
There's no more discussion.
Any more discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
If I
Dr.
may.
Brown?
So I'm similar to what Councilor from Ward 1 just said, being in the middle of the road. I think my question is the selection process. Did we discuss that yet? As to what that's going to look like? Like, is it going to be solely your responsibility to select those individuals?
City Manager. Yes, Councilor Matthews.
Yeah, so the motion speaks to that. So it says that the city manager would put together a membership proposal, and then it would be approved or denied by the finance committee.
And so my only question would be, and I realize that it's in the motion, I just like the idea of asking a question to make sure that people around will know what's going on, because everyone, just make sure we're on the same page. And so when I think about that selection committee, what kind of lens or process are we going to use to select those individuals? Like, are we going to have, business owners that are real estate, or are we going to have business owners that are restaurant owners? Like, how are you going to select those folks? Is that a fair question?
Well, I believe that those folks offered. Those are the folks who offered the help. Is that correct, Mr. City Manager?
Let me respond.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. I've had an opportunity to meet with the executive director of the chamber and to start to scope this committee and to start to think about what membership would be like. And in our conversations about that, it's focused on individuals who are familiar with working with complex multi-million-dollar organizational budgets. So looking for those type of individuals, somebody like the finance director from the SAFE Corporation, for example, or somebody from Salem Health with substantial budget authority and responsibility, somebody from Willamette University, or some of our other institutions and large employers in this community that are familiar with and understand complex budget scenarios and can help us in evaluating where we are and where we're going with our current budget and our 2026 budget, our next year's budget.
Okay, I appreciate the clarity. Thank you.
Any other comment? Yes, Councilor Nordyke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. How different this year is already. Just the quality of dialogue is night and day. Fascinating. Wonder whatever it could be. So I like to talk, not last, because this conversation is not over clearly, but close to last a lot of times, because I like to listen to see where my colleagues are at. And a lot of times I arrive to council meetings with my mind mostly made up, but you should always hold out the possibility that someone can change your mind. That is not tonight. But let me help explain things from my perspective. The City Budget Committee does not do a deep dive into efficiencies. It never has. Now, members of the Budget Committee have advocated for creating an independent auditor's office to do just that. And that's come up twice since I've served on Budget Committee starting in the year 2017. And it has never been adopted. So in my opinion, there is a need for a committee that looks specifically at the sorts of things that the Chamber and the Home Builders Association identified. So to me, is there some overlap with Budget Committee? Sure. But if you've watched our budget committee meetings, we're not taking an in-depth, under the microscope look at how the fire department runs its department. We're not asking questions generally, how can you do this cheaper, faster, better? That's not typically how those meetings are run, and you can watch hours of footage to see that for yourself. We do ask questions. I ask questions, everyone on the budget committee asks questions like, why is it this much money? Or why are you hiring for this? So does some of that happen? Yes, but not in the level of detail. The budget committee feels more like a mile wide and an inch deep in terms of its investigation of the efficiencies of city budgeting, because that's not really what it's for. We receive a city manager's budget, we review it, we fine tune it, but we've never thrown it out and started over. That would take a lot more meetings, a lot more meetings, and therapy for the city manager. I am not proposing that. I have faith in our city manager and our government, but a lot of people don't. And so when some people who have skepticism over our finances come to us and want to sit at the table and have a conversation with us, that's an opportunity. That is an opportunity that you should not pass up. So to me, this is a step in the right direction towards us working with members of the community, not just the chamber, not just the Home Builders Association, but a variety of other people who care about how we spend their money. So I'm in favor of the substitute motion. I am supportive of the selection process identified therein. And I'm also supportive of the 60-hour limit, because I think anything with the word efficiencies in the committee ought to have a time limit baked in. I think that's a genius idea. Way to go, Councilor Matthews. So I look forward to more discussion, but I'm in favor of that motion. And I want to thank Councilor Varney for bringing it, because something of this magnitude should be addressed by this council. So thank you for bringing that and all the reasons that you've identified for bringing it. And thank you, Councilor Matthews, for seeing this opportunity and finding a way to use professionalism and good judgment to fine tune it. This is what I want our council to be, a group of professionals, adults, talking to each other. So those are my comments for the time being.
Any other comments? Yes, Councilor Nishioka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I'll go one more time. Thank you for all the great questions and the comments related to this. Again, when I first saw it, it was like, wait a second, we've done a lot. But at the same time, I recognize with the deep dive and now hearing some of the people that would be on this committee with their experience in large budgets. We on the budget committee, I don't know if there's many of us. There might be some that are familiar or work with large budgets, but the majority of us are ordinary. And ordinary in the sense of not working with major budgets. So I think that this could be a very effective way within a scope of a certain number of hours that might be able to bring something forward. So I will also be voting in favor of the substitute motion.
Thank you. Anything further? Yes, Councilor Varney.
Oh, goodness, I just wanted to say thank you, Councilor Matthews, for bringing this forward. I will be supporting the motion, and I wanted to say in regards to the Budget Committee, it may look on the surface like we don't dive into the details, but I encourage anybody to read the questions that the Budget Committee members submit to staff and the fantastic detailed answers that come out. That's where the work is really done. I mean, I've saved those for all the years because I learned so much from those questions and answers, because our Budget Committee members have vast different experiences and they bring all that to the Budget Committee, and you see it come out in the questions. Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Irvin.
And I would agree, because speaking as the budget chair, I would say that we do a deep dive. And when I think about the budget members, the committee members, there's a lot of good work there, and there's a lot of smart people in that space, and I give hats off to the CFO and the deputy city managers that are here, because the staff do a lot of work. I mean, that's a lot of work when you think about having to put that budget together, and we enjoy that 2-inch, 3-inch book binder, and so it takes a lot to read. And I would say that even you, Madam Mayor, at the last time we met, you had a list of great questions, right? A list of great questions, and the staff, after talking with the CFO, the staff, they took time to answer those questions. So I have great confidence and faith that there is a deep dive. Will we benefit by other individuals that, you know, are managing multi-million-dollar businesses? Of course we will. But I don't want to slight us to say, you know, there are some people that are doing one level, not the other level, because the staff, they do a great work. And I want to just compliment them on the fact that there are some deep diving that's taking place. So.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, Councilor Gwynn.
So I just have two questions. So question number one is, what happens if we go over the 60 hours? And question number two is, in the concerning time, do we have time to have this be approved by the Finance Committee to come, you know what I mean? Like, is there enough time to accomplish this? What I'm struggling with is we continually talk about trust, but it almost feels like somebody didn't trust your decision to move forward with this, and I'm not trying to put words in, but yeah. So those are my, I guess, that's my comment and my questions.
Yes, sir.
With the motion and the 60 hours, we would do a rough accounting of our time spent, and if we were approaching 60 hours, we would come back to City Council and ask for authorization for additional time. And as to the timing of this, Executive Director Hufford and I are still working on the scope and possible candidates to jointly ask to participate. So there is some element of time. Our hope is to move forward expeditiously and to do the work over the course of January and February and be able to be in and out. We're not asking anybody in this process for a lifetime commitment. So we're asking for, you know, short, very task-oriented, come in, do the work, make some recommendations, and close out and be done.
Anything further? So do we need to read the substitute motion again?
You don't have to, but you can.
Read it for us, Jayne. So good.
Let me log into my computer here. Hold on a sec. Didn't expect this one.
Sorry.
All right. I move a substitute motion that the City Council form a City Budget Efficiencies Task Force, proposed membership to be drafted by the City Manager, but Finance Committee to approve the final members, City staff time to be limited to no more than 60 hours in direct support of the task force without additional City Council approval. Staff time counting toward the 60-hour limit shall only be time that would not have been expended but for the task force.
Thank you, sir. Will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Gwynn.
Aye.
Councilor Brown.
Aye.
Councilor Nordyke.
Aye.
Councilor Varney.
Aye.
Councilor Tigan.
Aye.
Councilor Nishioka.
Aye.
Councilor Matthews.
Aye.
Mayor Julie Hoy.
Aye. Motion passes. Now we are on to public hearings. We have none. No public hearings and special orders of business. No, we just did that. Let me turn the page. Information reports. Thanks for watching. I just read them, right? Okay. Item 6.A, appointments to the Center 50 Advisory Commission. 6.B, appointment to the Historic Landmarks Commission. 6.C, planning administrator decision, development of a new multifamily apartment complex. 6.D, planning administrator decision, an application for a 16-lot subdivision approved. 6.E, planning administrator decision of validation of unit land for one property, then a subdivision to divide the area to create 7 townhouse lots and open space, approved. 6F, planning administrator's decision to partition property into 2 lots, approved. And anyone have any questions on any of those items? Will the recorder please call the roll? Wait. There's no action. It's just information. Thank you very much for nodding so happily, Amy. Thank you. Let's see. We have no ordinances. And this one came off, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
We
So
already handled public comment.
second reading's over. Public comment is done. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations on a great meeting. We are adjourned.